everybody. It's Sonia Anderson from Cornerstone PT. Thanks for tuning in to another one of our live webinars. I am going to kind of wait a second. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay. If you are watching it live now, definitely type in any comments, questions. Elise over here will read them off to me and I can answer them right here. If you're watching it recorded and not live, go ahead, still comment or question, and we can get back to you. Today I'm going to talk about the glutes. We hear a lot about the glutes, sometimes with an explanation, sometimes really not. So I want to talk about why they're important, why we always talk about them, go into some anatomy, and in a different webinar I'm going to go into some like typical glute exercises. If you are interested in more on the hip, kind of hip pelvis area, we have a whole other presentation that's on the hip, so check out our Facebook page for that. Alrighty, so I've got my handy dandy pelvis here. Okay, so this would be looking at the pelvis from the front. So here is the back. Put it in front of me here, then we can both see. There we go. So pelvis, sacrum here. And then up here would be, you know, the actual spine, the lumbar spine, just for some bearings here. Right here is where the actual femur, the thigh bone, comes up and connects into the hip. We'll talk about that in a second for anatomy. So first off, let's talk about where the glutes are. So the glute maximus, there's three different parts to this. To the glutes. The glute maximus is the big muscle. It's kind of like right here. It attaches along the sacrum and then it comes out to where the femur bone is and it connects there. Okay. The glute medius is kind of like underneath the glute maximus. It attaches right up and through here and then again down to that femur bone. Now the glute minimus, that obviously the smaller of the three, is kind of underneath the glute medius, right inside kind of this plate here. It does the same thing, attaches in here, goes out to the femur. Okay, so basic anatomy right there. All right, now the glute max, that big muscle, moves the leg backwards and does rotation. The glute medius and minimus moves the leg out to the side, and then it also does some rotation. All right, so let's talk about the importance. Because of where those attachments are and how the pelvis and sacrum interact with that thigh bone, it adds a lot of pelvic and lumbar stability. It creates a force. The glute muscles create a force. So like running, it creates the force to propel you forward. And it goes all the way down to just the force required to stand up from a sitting position. Okay. It's also super important for single limb or unilateral tasks or exercises. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. A lot of sports and activities we do are kind of forward and backward. We kind of lose some of that side to side or lateral stability, and that's where some of these glutes come in. So I'm going to stand up and show you after I give you the example. But that glute medius muscle and the glute minimus muscle that move the leg side to side, it also helps to stabilize the opposite leg, especially if you're doing like single leg balance or something like a lunge where the two legs are doing something different. So I stand up here. Okay. I'm on my feet here. If I have one leg, let's do that. If I'm standing on just one leg, my glute medius muscle on my leg that's standing is in charge of where my pelvis is, which then is in charge of where the rest of my torso is. I'll turn around so you can see here. So here, this muscle is standing steady. I can move up and down. If this muscle is weak, I'm going to look like this. I'm going to kind of collapse. But if I'm nice and tall, I can stabilize the hip, and then that stabilizes the whole rest of the spine. Okay. Like I said in some of our other, or in the next webinar, I'll go through some specific glute exercises, some very typical ones, and some different ways to modify them to make them easier or harder, depending on your level. Again, thanks for tuning in. Bye.